The Galaxy Council had negotiated with countless species, but never with humans. When Earth refused to sit at the table, the chamber fell silent, then erupted in panic. Because everyone knew one truth: if humanity wasn't talking, humanity was preparing. The ultimatum, the Central Assembly Hall floated in the void between star systems, a neutral space where no single species could claim dominance. The structure was ancient, built by civilizations long extinct, and it hummed with the energy of 1,000 different technologies working together. Inside the main chamber, representatives from 73 different species gathered in an emergency session that would reshape the galaxy forever. Hi. Chancellor Vorath stood at the central platform, his 6 arms spread wide in a gesture of authority. His species, the Torvin, had led the Galactic Consortium for nearly 400 years. Their pale blue skin seemed to glow under the chamber lights, and their triple-set eyes could see across multiple spectrums simultaneously. Vorath had never faced a challenge to his authority that he could not overcome through superior technology. Political pressure, or when necessary, military force. Today was different. Today, the challenge came from a species that had joined the consortium only 60 years ago. A species that most members had initially dismissed as primitive and unremarkable. Humans. The chamber fell silent as Vorath activated the holographic display. Images appeared in the air showing human colonies scattered across disputed territories. Human ships moving through restricted space lanes, and human research stations operating in forbidden zones. Each image represented a violation of consortium law, and there are hundreds of them. Ambassador Wei Chen sat in the human section with perfect stillness. She was a woman in her 50s with gray streaking through her black hair and eyes that revealed nothing of her thoughts. Next to her sat Dr. Marcus Rivera, a younger man whose fingers constantly moved across a data tablet, recording everything that happened. They were the only 2 humans present in a chamber, designed to hold thousands. Vorath's voice echoed through the translation systems built into every seat. The human species has become a problem that can no longer be ignored. In 60 years, they have claimed 117 worlds. They have established mining operations in 32 restricted systems. They have built military installations in zones designated as neutral territory. This expansion violates every agreement they made when joining our consortium. Around the chamber, alien delegates responded with various sounds of agreement. The Krell delegation, massive insectoid beings with crystalline exoskeletons, clicked their mandibles in approval. The Saphir, floating jellyfish-like creatures contained in environmental suits, pulsed with colors that indicated satisfaction. The Orthan reptilian warriors covered in armored scales hissed their support. Vorath continued, his voice growing harder. The consortium has shown patience with humanity. We welcomed them when they were confined to a single star system. We shared knowledge of faster-than-light travel. We opened trade networks that brought them wealth beyond their primitive understanding. We gave them everything they needed to join civilized galactic society. He paused, letting his words sink in before delivering the blow. But humans do not understand gratitude. They do not respect the laws that have maintained peace for millennia. They take what they want and ignore the boundaries that protect us all from chaos. Ambassador Chun remained motionless, her face showing no reaction. Dr. Rivera had stopped typing and was now watching Vorath with intense focus. Therefore, the Consortium Council has reached a decision. Vorath raised all 6 arms in a formal gesture of decree. All human colonies in the outer reach sectors must be abandoned within 45 standard days. All human military vessels must withdraw from consortium space. All human research operations must cease immediately. All human trade agreements are suspended pending compliance with these terms. The chamber erupted in sounds of approval. Species that had competed with human businesses celebrated. Military powers that felt threatened by human weapons technology showed satisfaction. Bureaucrats who resented human efficiency in navigating consortium red tape felt vindicated. In exchange for compliance. Vorath continued once the noise subsided. The consortium will designate appropriate zones for future human expansion. These zones will be selected to ensure no conflicts with established species territories or interests. Ambassador Chun finally moved. She leaned toward Dr. Rivera and whispered something. He nodded and made a note on his tablet. Then they both stood up. The chamber noticed immediately. Conversations died away as thousands of alien eyes focused on the two humans rising from their seats. Vorath stared down at them from his elevated platform. Ambassador Chen, the High Chancellor, said, his tone dripping with condescension. Surely you wish to discuss the generous terms being offered to your species. You may speak. Chun looked up at the massive alien and spoke in a clear, calm voice that carried through the chamber without any translation device. High Chancellor Vorath, I have heard the consortium's demands. I understand the terms being presented. She paused, and in that moment of silence, something shifted in the atmosphere of the chamber. Something subtle but profound. The human response is no. The single word hung in the air like a physical thing. For 3 full seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The concept was so foreign, so impossible, that it took time for the translation systems to process it and for alien minds to comprehend. What had just been said? You cannot refuse. Vorath finally said, his voice uncertain for the first time in decades. This is not a negotiation. This is a consortium decree. All member species must comply with consortium. La Chen picked up her tablet and tucked it under her arm. Dr. Rivera did the same. We are not refusing, Ambassador Chun said calmly. We are declining to participate in this process entirely. There is a difference. She turned toward the exit. Dr. Rivera followed. Stop, Vorath commanded, his voice rising. You cannot simply leave. We have not dismissed this assembly. Ambassador Chin paused at the doorway and looked back over her shoulder. With respect, High Chancellor. We dismissed ourselves. Then she walked through the door. Dr. Rivera followed without looking back. The sound of their footsteps echoed in the absolute silence of the chamber. For a moment, nothing happened. Then chaos exploded across the assembly hall. Aliens jumped from their seats, shouting in dozens of languages. Some demanded immediate military action. Others called for economic sanctions. A few simply expressed confusion at what they had just witnessed. High Chancellor Vorath stood frozen on his platform, all 6 arms hanging uselessly at his sides. In 400 years of consortium history, no species had ever simply walked away from a direct order. The concept was unthinkable. Laws existed to be followed. Authority existed to be obeyed. That was how civilization functioned. But the humans had just broken that fundamental rule. They had refused to negotiate. They had refused to comply. They had refused to even acknowledge the consortium's authority over them. And as the chaos continued to build in the assembly hall, as aliens argued and threatened and demanded action, one fact became terrifyingly clear to everyone present. Nobody knew what to do next. Outside the station, the human transport ship was already accelerating away from the assembly point. Inside, Ambassador Chen sat in the pilot's chair and opened a secure communication channel. This is Chun to command. Package delivered. Response was exactly as predicted. Execute Phase 2. The reply came immediately. Confirmed, Ambassador. Phase 2 is active. All human systems are going dark in 3 minutes. Chun closed the channel and looked at Dr. Rivera. He was staring out at the stars with a small smile on his face. It is done, Chun said quietly. No going back now, Rivera nodded. 60 years we have prepared for this moment. 60 years of building, learning, and becoming strong enough to stand alone. The consortium thought we were their students. They never realized we were studying them. The ship jumped to faster than light speed, leaving the assembly hall behind. In 3 minutes, every human facility in consortium space would shut down simultaneously. Every human ship would disappear from tracking systems. Every human communication channel would go silent. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when you pushed humanity too far. When you mistook patience for weakness. When you confused cooperation with submission, the consortium had demanded that humans negotiate. Humans had declined. Now the real crisis could begin. The unraveling. The first 24 hours after the humans departed were filled with angry speeches and confident declarations. High Chancellor Vorath ordered immediate economic sanctions against all human colonies. The consortium military began mobilizing their fleets. Diplomatic channels buzzed with messages demanding that humanity return to the negotiating table immediately. None of the messages received responses. By the second day, confusion began replacing anger. Every attempt to contact human facilities resulted in silence. Consortium ships sent to human colonies found the world still inhabited and functioning, but all communication systems appeared to be offline. Human merchant vessels that had been traveling through consortium space had simply vanished. Tracking systems showed no trace of them anywhere. By the third day, the real problems started appearing. On the Torvan homeworld, the central medical facility discovered that their advanced surgical units had stopped functioning. The machines were human-designed, integrated into Torvan hospitals 15 years earlier because they were more precise and effective than anything the Torvans had created themselves. Technicians tried to repair them using consortium technology, but the systems were too complex. Without human technical support, the machines were useless metal boxes. Similar reports came flooding in from across consortium space. The Krell discovered that their mining equipment, purchased from human manufacturers, required regular maintenance with specialized parts that only humans produced. The Saphir found that their atmospheric processors, upgraded with human technology, were beginning to fail. The Orthan military realized that their newest weapons systems incorporated human-designed targeting computers that no Orthan engineer understood well enough to maintain. In the assembly hall. Now, in permanent emergency session, High Chancellor Vorath faced a growing nightmare. Dozens of species representatives were demanding answers, and he had none to give. The Altuvian delegate, a small furry creature with 8 eyes, stood on his platform and spoke in a trembling voice. Our water purification systems have failed on 3 colonies. They were designed by human engineers 5 years ago. Without them, 2 million Altuvians will run out of clean water in less than a month. We need human assistance immediately. Vorath tried to maintain his authority. The consortium has water purification technology. We will provide alternatives. The Altuvian's fur bristled with agitation. Your technology cannot handle our unique atmospheric chemistry. That is why we contracted with human engineers in the first place. Only they solved the problem. More delegates began speaking at once, each describing similar crises. The elegant vision, beings of pure energy contained in crystalline matrices, reported that the human-designed power conduits on their worlds were degrading. The massive Grundar, stone-like creatures from high-gravity worlds, revealed that the only ships capable of transporting their people safely were human-built freighters that had now disappeared. On the 4th day, Vorath finally admitted to himself what he had refused to see earlier. The consortium had become dependent on human innovation. Not completely, but enough that removing humans from the system was causing cascading failures across hundreds of worlds. He called an emergency meeting of his closest advisors in a secure chamber away from the main assembly. Present were military commander Zax, a battle-scarred Orthan warrior, economic minister Pilon, a calculating Vishan who existed as purple light within his crystal shell, and intelligence director Moravin. A Torvan like Vorath, but older and more cynical. How did this happen? Vorath asked, his voice hollow. How did we become so dependent on one species in only 60 years? Moravin activated a holographic display showing the integration of human technology throughout consortium space. Because humans were better at solving problems than we were, he said bluntly. When they arrived, we thought we were the advanced civilization sharing knowledge with primitives. But humans learned everything we taught them in 5 years, then started improving on it. The display showed graphs and charts demonstrating human technological contributions. agricultural systems that increased crop yields by 40%, medical treatments that extended lifespans for a dozen species, manufacturing processes that reduced costs by half, transportation networks that moved goods 3 times faster than before, communication systems that were more reliable and secure than anything the consortium had developed in centuries. We welcome their innovations, Pilan said, his purple light pulsing with distress. They made everything more efficient and more profitable. No one considered what would happen if they left Dot. Can we force them back? Vorath asked, turning to Zax. The military commander's scales rippled with uncertainty. Our fleet is larger than theirs. We have 17,000 warships compared to their estimated 400. But our intelligence reports suggest humans have been building new vessels in secret locations beyond our territory. How many new vessels? We do not know. Our spy networks in human space have gone completely silent. Every agent we sent to human worlds has stopped reporting. Either they have been captured or they have defected. Defected, Vorth repeated in disbelief. Our trained intelligence operatives defected to humanity? Moravin nodded slowly. It appears so, and not just spies. We are receiving reports that some consortium member species are attempting to contact humanity directly, outside official channels. Which species? Vorath demanded. The Altuvians have sent 3 unauthorized diplomatic missions to human territory. The Krell Mining Collective has sent envoys. Even some Torvan commercial interests have tried to establish private communications with human businesses. Vorath felt his 3 hearts beating irregularly. This was worse than he had imagined. The consortium was not just losing human cooperation. It was beginning to fracture as individual species prioritized their own survival over collective unity. What exactly are the humans doing? He asked. They must be taking some action. Moravin changed the holographic display to show the edge of known space. This is where it becomes truly concerning. Our long-range sensors have detected massive construction activity in the regions beyond consortium territory. Humans are building something enormous. Multiple installations, each larger than our biggest space stations. What are they building? We do not know. But energy readings suggest advanced technology beyond anything we have seen from humans before. They are not hiding. They want us to know they are building something significant. Over the next week, the situation deteriorated rapidly. 6 minor species announced they were suspending their consortium membership to pursue independent relationships with humanity. The Altuvians were first publicly stating that their people's survival was more important than political loyalty. Within days, human supply ships arrived at Altuvian worlds carrying replacement parts and technical support. The price humans demanded shocked everyone. They asked only for recognition as a sovereign civilization and agreements of mutual respect. No tribute, no territorial concessions, no political subordination. Just respect and fair treatment. More species began leaving the consortium. The careful political structure that had maintained galactic order for 4 centuries was collapsing like a star-going supernova. High Chancellor Vorath made one final attempt to salvage the situation. He sent an official diplomatic mission to human space led by Ambassador Trell, a skilled negotiator who had resolved conflicts with dozens of species. The human response came within hours. A simple text message. Not even a live communication. The Terran Commonwealth respectfully declines to meet with consortium representatives. Humanity has withdrawn from consortium jurisdiction and does not recognize consortium authority over human affairs. Species wishing to establish relationships with humanity may do so independently. The age of consortium dominance has ended. The age of voluntary cooperation among equals has begun. Vorath read the message 3 times, each reading making his situation clearer. The humans were not angry. They were not threatening. They were simply done with the consortium entirely. By the end of the 3rd week, 22 species had left the consortium to join what humans were calling the Commonwealth Alliance. Reports indicated that human technology and support were flowing freely to these species, with the only requirement being that they treat humans as equal partners, rather than subjects or masters. Vorath called one final assembly session. The chamber was half empty now, with entire sections vacant where departed species had once sat. Those who remained looked desperate and frightened. Fellow members, Vorath began, his voice tired. We face a simple choice. We can continue insisting on our authority over humanity and watch the consortium dissolve completely. Or we can accept reality and attempt to rebuild relationships based on mutual respect rather than hierarchical. The vote was not close. Exhausted and facing economic collapse, the remaining consortium members voted to officially recognize human independence and request renewed diplomatic contact on terms of equality. The human response came from Ambassador Wei Chen herself, speaking via holographic transmission to the diminished assembly. The Terran Commonwealth accepts the consortium's recognition of our independence. We are willing to establish trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and mutual defense pacts with any species that approaches us with respect. We harbor no ill will toward consortium members. We simply refuse to be treated as subordinates. She paused and her expression softened slightly. Humanity spent 60 years preparing for this moment. We knew eventually the consortium would attempt to limit our growth and control our future. We chose not to fight you. We chose not to destroy you. We simply chose to leave and build our own path. Any species that wishes to walk that path with us is welcome. The transmission ended. Vorath sat in his elevated seat and looked at the empty sections of the chamber. The consortium still existed, but it would never be the same. Humanity had not conquered them through superior force. They had simply made themselves indispensable, then walked away when the consortium tried to assert dominance. Comments for next.